Preparing the live stream meeting.
6% chance. Wow.
Done. Redirecting you to YouTube. Boom. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and others, we are live on YouTube.
Although, hi, YouTube.
Hello, tube that is you. I just realized I don't really know how to bring in the, because of the setup I've got here, bringing in the actual SpaceX feed itself. So I think when we get to launch, the actual launch, I'll share my screen and just go full screen with it, and we can watch that for a little bit, and then we'll get back to the chatting. All right.
All right.
How are you, gentlemen?
That sounds good.
Awesome.
So good. Very excited. What are we here for today? Why is it that all of a sudden the four of us have decided on a Sunday afternoon, early evening to convene ourselves on YouTube? Would anybody like to share with the world why it is that we are together today?
I thought this was a special Supercharger update. Wait.
Speaking of which, did you see that the 56
Firebar
Supercharger between LA and San Francisco is now open in all its glory?
It is the largest Supercharger installation in the world.
Which world?
The world that we currently inhabit.
The known world?
It'll be another.
Do we just call it the known world? Is that what we call it? So you can see Joel has decided that he was going to add like blue light and a floating TV screen in his background. He just was like, "Oh, we're going live on YouTube. I better bring my A game." Pretty soon, Joel's just going to take over the whole channel. He's got all of our passwords and stuff now, and it'll be like,
"Oh yes,
yeah."
We have to talk about the changes I've made.
Welcome to Talking Tesla.
What's so sad is that his kids were asking if they could have new shoes because theirs have holes in them, and he's like, "No, I got to get some studio upgrades, kids."
It's going to be Talking Tesla with just Joel is what it'll turn into very shortly.
Actually, Joel told me his kids are actually sleeping now. It's pretty early because he's had them working so hard all day. Hammers and drills.
They're almost done. Hopefully you don't hear the construction.
Awesome.
So what do we think?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. So the NASA live feed has been ongoing since probably for over 2 hours now. And they were talking about the items such as this guy right here that they've sent up in the Crew Dragons, right? Do you remember this one?
Mm-hmm.
That was from Crew Dragon number 1. Oh, Joel, he's there.
You guys are so nerdy.
In the A game. That's it.
So nerdy. So
if somebody can tell us what the name is of that, we have something from Mark we can give away.
That's right. We have a wonderful, very cool emblem that you can put on the back of your car. Although I think they'll probably spontaneously combust if you put them on anything but a Tesla. But Mark at RPM Tesla has these really nice aluminum SpaceX emblems that you can adhere onto the back of your trunk. They come in either silver or black, and they're made of aluminum. And he has graciously given us some to give away today. So what was that question, Joel?
What's the name of that creature stuffed thing that you gentlemen have? What is it? What is it called?
Yes, and what is its significance?
Well, it's the Earth, is it not?
Well, no, but what was it used for during
now,
the...
I thought the guy had a dinosaur with him. I didn't think he had an Earth.
Well, you're close.
That's the second giveaway. So we want people to drop a tweet on the Talking Tesla Twitter account and give us your reply. And the first person to do it gets, I'm trying to pull it up right now.
And that's at Talking Tesla on Twitter.
That's
Correct.
right.
Yeah.
I guess it goes against anybody who doesn't do Twitter.
Actually, I have another. I have actually a second question for the audience, if we could find it, because I cannot find this information, and this question popped into my head today, and maybe somebody out there can know. So for the second SpaceX emblem, tweet at us, what are the total number of space launches in the history of the Earth?
And you can make up a number because we don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, we're going to try to find that answer.
Oh, that's a good one.
But and we're not talking, and I'm not talking about like ICBM tests for nuclear weapons. I'm talking about actual like
Orbital.
going into space launches, and they could be failed launches as well. They could be attempts. So total number of launches.
Good on you, Tom.
Total number of attempts. You mean like including
15
like
minutes to
exploded
liftoff.
rockets?
All of it, Robert. But aren't you curious how many times like man has attempted to leave?
Hundreds.
It's thousands, actually. It's thousands.
Yeah. Well,
but
if
but
you
I
go
can't
to
find the
11,
number.
hundreds,
I'm
it's
really,
thousands.
I'm desperately trying to find the number, and I cannot.
All right.
Crazy. Well, I'll tell you this. How many minutes is it for the Crew 1 Dragon to get to orbit today? So from launch at 4:27 Pacific time, how many minutes will it be for the Crew Dragon to get to orbit? This is not to give away one of these cool SpaceX emblems and NASA stickers from Mark. This is just to make you guys look foolish.
I'm gonna say into orbit, into actual like we're stabilized and we're in orbit.
Oh, stable orbit.
Not to the space station.
Yeah.
That one I can give you another one.
42 minutes.
Okay. Joel?
I'll say 35.
Joel?
I'll say 35
35.
minutes. A little less, but that's a
Mel?
good question. Oh, crud. I bet you had that
Mel?
up somewhere.
Until they get to orbit or until they get to the space station?
No.
Stable orbit. Pay attention, Mel. It's not that hard.
Sorry,
it's one question. It's
I've
English.
got like 17 things open here. I'm going to say it's going to be 23 minutes and 23 hours to get to the space station.
Well, okay. That it is a long time to get to the docking of the space
That's
station. but
again,
it's-
that wasn't the question.
It doesn't matter. I gave you an answer that I knew. Okay, it's fundamental to how you do these things, Tom. Do not answer the question you don't know. Give an answer that you do know. It's basic. Please.
Oh God, this is great. I'm going to send out a tweet that says we're already arguing, and we just started the show like 9 minutes ago.
Speaking of tricksters, sorry, Joel, I cut you off, but Tom is buying a new Model Y. Do you know why? I'll tell you why. We had a little bet. We have a little golf group. We have a little bet, and I foolishly said, let's have a bet between us. Pick a golfer, and if you get the right golfer that wins, the rest of us will give you $20. There's 18,000 people in this golf group. Tom won. He's walking away with, I don't know what it is, 18,000 times $20.
The most of that is accurate, except for the 18,000 people. I think it was 7 total. Total. So I think 6 people are supposed to pay me $20 each. However, here's a question for you, gentlemen. And this was a piece of math that I did not have the ability to try to explain to Mel over text. But yesterday, my golfer was winning handily, and Mel wanted to, what most people would refer to as a double or nothing bet, but Mel wanted to make it a double or I pay him more money bet, which I didn't get the math of, and so I didn't accept it. So right now, yesterday, Mel would have owed me $20. And then he made this double down bet where it was like, if my guy actually doesn't choke, I would get $40. And if my guy choked, I would have to give him 20. So it wasn't double or nothing. It was double. And so I said no, because it was just going to be too difficult to try to explain to him how his math was wrong. But maybe seeing the look on his face, I'm starting to feel like he actually did know, and he was trying to sucker me into some.
I was trying to sucker you, but you could have had 40 of my dollars and you got.
I could have. I actually really wish what we would have done at the start of it was pick a golfer, and it's $20 per person if the guy doesn't win, if none of our picks won, and was just the high finisher, and if you pick the winner, it was double. That would have been cool.
Can we get back to space?
I did pick the winner.
Okay.
Hey, Robert, there. You can talk about space all you want, but we are talking about the Masters tournament, which is way more important. Way more important.
It's true. Everybody knows.
Well, at least it's one
So
game
we've got
that's
10
going
minutes.
on.
Yeah, 10 minutes.
10 minutes
So-
to launch. So who's on this? Who's on this? Who's the crew here, folks? Like, let's talk about the crew here.
Did we ever start the show? Did we intro?
Yeah,
No,
yeah, we're on.
but,
We're live,
you know,
Robert.
We'll intro
Seriously.
it later.
Pay attention, Robert.
It's all
Okay.
good.
Well, I wanted to share what I'm drinking, since you guys didn't. I had
So
two
no
beers.
one's gonna answer.
I had 2 beers, and I picked this beer. It is called Mars Express, and
Mhm.
it's American Pale Ale. So I'll be drinking this well.
All right.
Wow. Mars Express. I'm
well-
drinking something that is on Mars, but it. Oh shit! I just poured it on my laptop.
Ooh, on
that's
your
funny.
laptop?
Yeah, with this show is
Now
going to
he's-
be over soon.
And now he's running it off of his laptop.
Wow. Very, very nice.
Oh.
What were you drinking before the
Continue
water?
on.
A salt water. Apparently, he said
So the
it was the
question-
liquid that was on Mars.
The question that I asked was who's on this flight. So I guess I'll read the document.
Oh.
I tried to give you guys some help, but for whatever reason, Joel answered who's in this crew with this is the beer I'm drinking. And I'm
Yes.
not, and that's because it's his 3rd beer and he just doesn't care what I say anymore.
Oh, it's actually
Robert
pretty good.
is now holding up his beverage and showing, and he's drinking rye from Sierra Distilling. Is it Sierra Distilling? No, it's not. It's Granite
Granite Distilling.
Distillery
Actually, this is
in
not
Mammoth.
quite as high end a rye, but it is a Manhattan. And just so people aren't left hanging, it's going to take them 12 minutes to get to orbit. I know you guys have
12.
short attention spans.
Did I win?
12 minutes.
Did
to
I
get
Oh,
to
I was the
orbit.
closest.
Yeah.
I win nothing.
Didn't you
So-
say 23 hours?
So
No, he
it's
said
gonna
23
take-
minutes,
The
but
next
I
question
said
was how
23
long?
minutes, didn't I? No, I said 40 minutes. I don't know what I said.
The next question was going to be how long is it going to take them to dock? So from the time they reach orbit, 12 minutes after they lift off, how long will it take until they dock with the International Space Station?
I already told you.
You're wrong.
3 hours.
Ooh,
You're wrong.
You're wrong.
Shh, that's never happened before.
It's
Today.
23 hours, but still, it's a long time. And you know what's really interesting is if they had you said, I'm sorry, 27 hours, I said.
Okay.
27 hours, but
You didn't say
they
27
had-
hours, actually. You said 23 hours, just for the
because
record.
I've still got Mel stuck in the back of my brain, which I do most all the time. And so the interesting thing is if they had launched when they originally were going to launch, I think that was yesterday, right? They were going to take only 8 hours
oh,
to
right.
get to the space station. So it's really interesting.
Oh.
And it turns out that the Russians don't go through most of the safety steps, and they take a very different approach. They get there in like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Interesting.
This
You
was
could-
going to
you
be the
could
first
actually get
one
there.
that was going to get there in under 24 hours, but obviously it didn't work out. So now they're back
You
to the
can
longer.
you can actually get to the space station apparently in 12 minutes. It's just that once you get there, just saying.
Let's be careful.
Nice. Nice.
Wow. Four humans at the top of this rocket right now.
Are they listening to the show, do you think?
No, they probably are busy. Although, okay, so I don't know if you guys can see the photo, the live. If you're watching the live feed, you can see sort of down the line of the astronauts. It looks like you can see 3 of them. I'm not sure you can see all 4 of them from this shot.
Yeah, I only can see 3.
But one
Yeah,
of them,
was asked to get off, actually,
One
because
of
he
them-
broke wind.
and I don't know, maybe it's the camera angle, but like, doesn't one of them look much shorter than the other? Like the helmet is way down on the other situation.
They're
kind
in
of-
different situations. So the pilot and the captain sit higher up behind the touch screens, and the 2 other astronauts are sitting a little bit below them and behind them.
Look at that. Robert had an actual answer to that.
That's good.
That's very nicely done, Robert.
And the
Thank
ones
you.
behind say, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?"
Like, what's the Wi-Fi password on this thing?
So here's a question. Since I already talked about the little Earth pillow that served as the zero gravity indicator on the first non-human demo launch, they have a new one on this launch, and we don't know what it is. Everybody's guessing. I haven't been watching the Twitter feed on this, but what would you use if you were going up to the space station, Tom? What would be your zero gravity indicator? In other words, it can't be like really sharp, because if it starts floating around and it's sharp, that wouldn't be so good. And it couldn't be really heavy, because again, a lot of inertia, costs a lot of money to take this thing up into space. What would you pick?
I would bring Eeyore.
Eeyore.
A stuffed
Nice.
Eeyore, because as a child, I had this wonderful stuffed Eeyore doll, and he was a very close friend of
Now
mine.
we were in the same era.
He was a
I
very
had one
close friend of
too.
mine. So
I had one
would've-
too, Tom.
That would
We're
have been
at
my
4
pick.
minutes.
Yeah, we have
And,
4
I don't-
minutes to launch.
I don't know if you're like me, but I find SpaceX launches super fun, very exciting. But I hate them when they have humans in them, because the whole time I'm like, don't blow up, don't blow up, don't blow up, don't blow. I just find it very
Nerve-wracking. Yeah.
Yes.
Are we landing this first stage this
Yeah.
evening
In the ocean.
in the ocean?
On,
Which one of the ships will it be out on?
It
Uh,
is.
It's TOLC. Read.
We don't know.
Obviously,
Yeah, we don't
We're
know.
looking it up.
no fairing will be recovered because there is no fairing. It's a Dragon capsule.
Hopefully, it won't be recovered. The fairing.
How
Hopefully, it'll make it all the way there.
long are they going up for? Anybody know?
6 weeks, 6 months.
6
It's the
months.
first. Yeah, it's the first long term mission that NASA is launching with SpaceX, and that NASA has actually contracted for 6 of these with SpaceX.
Wow.
So we're looking at every 6 months for 3 years. SpaceX going to do this again, which is
So is this capsule staying up with them, or is somebody coming down in it?
I think it's staying. I don't know. I think it's going to stay up
There's
because
somebody up.
yeah, there's one
There's
person,
one person up there.
Just one? There's somebody in there by themselves?
Well, there's
Mhm.
usually 2 or 3 Russians, and there's one from the NASA /
Oh,
European
I see.
International
So
Space
there are
Organization.
multiple people up there. You were just not counting Russians for whatever reason.
No, there's just one person there right now.
There's literally just one
No, I
person
think there's-
on this.
There's both. There's one Russian and one American. Although I have no idea who it is. But maybe somebody in the audience
Okay.
can tell us.
This shows serious lack of information. I don't
You know
know
what?
why anybody is. If you're watching this
We're
show,
trying.
find another one.
So
Hey,
Let-
we're 1 minute 51
All right.
seconds. Should I share the screen and just show the launch?
Yeah, actually, let's wait till 1 minute. Go to 1 minute because that's a long time to not see our wonderful faces. Unless you feel like you're going to have some
Oh
technical
no,
issues
go
with
to
sharing.
it. Go to
Oh,
it.
Robert says go to it. So there's a nice
Because
shot right there, which
it's
shows
the
what
1
Robert
minute
was
when
talking.
they stop
Which
it.
shows what Robert was talking about with the 2 pilot / commanders a little more forward and the other 2 astronauts a little more backwards.
Look at all that condensation.
Very,
That's
very
good.
exciting. Night launches, very, very powerful to watch a night launch because you get to see a lot more of the trail as it goes up. So it should be very exciting. Don't you gentlemen wish you were just right there?
Oh yeah.
No, I would rather be here with you.
It's a fun show though, you have to admit.
Was.
It's more just if you go a couple days and it gets pushed back, it's not as fun, but it's still pretty great.
I've never seen an actual space launch. I've seen only one space thing happen in my life, and it was the test of a main shuttle engine up here in Chatsworth. It was the most incredible thing I've ever been a part of.
Okay. Got 30
We got
seconds
30
left.
seconds.
Ooh, look at that. They added the big numbers this time. That's pretty cool.
On the flight, there's parents of the two there's two dads, and there's 6 children amongst those two. And it appears that Shannon, Walker, and the JAXA astronaut don't have any children, but
All right, here we go.
20. Oh no, my
There we
feed's
go. We
different
have
than
ignition.
yours.
We have ignition.
We have ignition.
Shut it down.
We have
Oh,
liftoff.
Yes. What? There we
Very
go.
cool. Look at
All right.
that. Look at that night shot. Oh man, what a beautiful.
Candle in the sky.
We can't hear them
Amazing.
though, right? So we don't know if they're saying anything nominal. We like those nominal things when it comes to space
Yeah,
flight.
I can hear them. Everything's nominal. They're already
500
doing 600 kilometers an hour.
Whew, they're moving.
nice. So the biggest one for me is Miko, which Miko is coming up pretty quickly.
Or was it
Touch and
Max
go.
Q? Isn't that where you usually explode?
I'm sorry, Max Q. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And
They both
not
happen right close together. This is an interesting feed. It doesn't have the SpaceX like circular timeline at the bottom.
yeah that they
This-
normally
is this-
have. So
Is this
they're
a
at max.
NASA? Is this a NASA feed? Because it's a crew
No, it
mission.
says SpaceX.
There we
NASA's
go.
in
Max
control.
Q.
There we go. The maximum pressure on the vehicle, as they say.
That's at 1,500 kilometers an hour. What?
Yeah,
It's pretty fast.
Very cool. Look at that.
lovely.
Amazing.
All right, very good, SpaceX.
High five.
It's,
It's great.
and just a short 26.59 minutes from now, 26 hours and 59 minutes, they'll get to the station. Have you guys ever played with the SpaceX? They have a thing where you can practice docking to the space station. That thing is, you use
Yeah.
like keyboard
I
commands and
vote.
stuff.
I vote that you do the docking.
Very challenging.
Nice.
I vote that I don't do the docking. That's a beautiful shot. I love this one right down the line of the thing, so you can see all those beautiful engines firing, those Merlin engines.
And do we
Oh,
know
that
why the plume
kerosene.
of fire or the plume gets bigger?
Do we know why it does? Because I would assume less atmospheric pressure on it.
Ooh, Mel.
Swing.
It makes sense to me. It's like
Yeah.
gets big because it's not getting crushed by atmospheric pressure.
Right. And so at some point,
There's
main engine
separation.
cutoff right
We have
now.
separation. We have
It's
separation.
more efficient to use to actually get rid of the booster and then go to the single engine. But this one is designed for basically the vacuum of space,
Vacuum.
and so it's much wider and it can take advantage of the energy a little bit more of the engine.
Mhm.
And on the left hand side now we see the booster starting to make its way back.
Interesting.
And
The lights down below it. I think those are like Florida.
Florida. Yeah.
Probably. And
Yeah.
so you see this the glow of the single engine with the giant bell around it, and what you're seeing is kind of a sheath around the engine that they move that ever so slightly, and that's how they maneuver the spacecraft at this point by just moving that outer bell a little bit left and right, up and down, and they can control the spaceship. But this is always very, very exciting stuff. So we're about 8 minutes away from orbital insertion, as they would say in the business.
So Robert, that number that you got, that was when the velocity of the second stage and these 5 astronauts, that's when it gets to orbital velocity, essentially.
The time it takes to dock with the space station, or the
No,
first...
the 14-minute number that you had.
12 minutes to orbit. Yeah, to a stable orbit. And it's at orbit, they're going to slowly work to catch up with the ISS.
Okay.
And this is where they're matching centripetal force with gravitational force. So you've got to be spinning around fast enough to be offsetting the gravitational force, which is pulling you in, which was a fundamental misunderstanding I had until like last year. I thought you get far enough away from the Earth and there's not much gravity anymore. But of course, at these levels, there's plenty of gravity. So that's why you've got to get this centripetal force going.
Yeah, it's still about 90%, 90 something percent, the same gravity, but basically the ship's falling. And so when you're in a ship that's falling, instead of things falling to the floor, you just sort of move with the ship. And so you don't fall.
All right, so I have a factoid for you, Tom. I know you were asking about how many launches or launch attempts have there been from Earth.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that would be from Earth, not including the moon, because there was 1 or 2 or actually 6 launches from the moon.
Yes, I believe I asked. I believe I said Earth,
Wow.
but yeah.
Okay. So I know that for a fact, SpaceX has been to the International Space Station 22 times.
Nice.
This will be number 23.
This
That
is
seems
the
like a lot.
102nd successful, well, so far successful completed flight.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, sorry. And there's been 99 Falcon 9 missions. So I guess missions in this case are where you're putting a paid payload up to space. And with the booster landing, this would be the 65th.
And that should be landing soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird because this is where I don't really care as much about the landing, whereas everything else, even the Starlinks, I care just as much about the landing as I do about the satellites getting properly launched.
The reason you don't care about the landing is because there's human beings attached to this particular situation that's happening. So it does seem somewhat anticlimactic. Was this an all new vehicle or was this a reused vehicle? Do we know the answer to that question?
Yeah, this is new. The reused, I think it was Crew 2 that they said they could use a reused booster.
Okay.
And then I think as well, they gave them permission. NASA gave SpaceX permission to even reuse the Crew Dragon, but I don't know when that's coming about. So we haven't talked about the astronauts at all yet.
No, we haven't. I mean, I only asked about it a half an hour ago.
Okay, Tom, why don't you start us off then?
No, I mean, okay, I guess I will. So we have Michael S. Hopkins, who's a NASA astronaut. He has 2 sons with Julie Stutz of Peoria, Illinois. He has a Master's of Science in Aerospace Engineering from Stanford University.
Nice.
Very, very impressive. And then we have Victor J. Glover. He's married to Diona Odom. They have 4 children. He has a Master of Military Operational Art and Science. Military Operational Art and Science. Interesting.
And he's Danny Glover's brother.
That's incorrect. From Air University in Montgomery, Alabama. Then we have Shannon Walker, who has a doctorate of philosophy in space physics from Rice University in 92. And this document says in 92 and 93. So does that two different, a doctorate in philosophy and a doctorate in space physics? And is that what I'm reading? Or I didn't put this together, so I have no
that was
idea.
She's
Very helpful.
she's also a Texas Ranger, by the way.
I don't think that. I don't think that's true. Just
Walker,
not everybody with the last
Texas
name
Ranger.
Walker is a
So she
Texas
got a
Ranger.
master's in science in 92, and then she got the doctorate in 93.
So Joel, you put together some incorrect information. Oh, there's a picture of the SpaceX in Hawthorne. We have some clapping happening in the background.
Guess which COVID-containing board member and engineer is not there?
I don't know, but there's Elon right there in the middle.
Elon's got COVID. He shouldn't be there.
Is that not Elon right there in the middle in the blue shirt? Maybe it isn't, but yeah.
Oh, we're gonna have a landing here. Here we go.
All right.
Here we go.
Nice.
And
Oh, good. They
very,
bolted down the camera.
A
very
little
cool.
bit, yeah. It's not
CGI, still
flippity flappity.
And
Great CGI as
Sweet.
always.
we have success. Have you guys noticed
Looks good.
how often this thing is freaking dead center in the middle of that circle? It is very, very nice. So that never gets old for me. I'm not gonna lie.
I love that
think landing the stage is just an incredible feat. That is basically an amazing thing that no other space agency has ever done. And SpaceX now has done it how many times? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We say 60 something.
What's interesting too is, and now we can see the configuration of the astronauts there, so that's why we could only see 3. What they'd like to do for Starship is for the booster, so Heavy, what is it called, Starship Heavy, they want to actually land it without legs, and it sounds like the original plan was to land it on a ring, and then the ring captures the booster. So because they think they can be super accurate with it, they won't need legs, and they'll land it, or they're hoping to land it right where it's supposed to go. And it does look like they nail the landing almost all the time.
Yeah, they are nailing it. So Dr. Walker, Shannon Walker, she was the flight engineer of a Russian Soyuz spacecraft on June 15th, 2010, that also docked with the ISS. And she served as a flight engineer for a long duration mission. She was on the Soyuz again. She served as the pilot during the undock and landing, which occurred November 25th, 2010. So from June, July, August, September, October, November. So about 6 months. She's already been on the space station for about 6 months, lasted 161 days that time. And then the last astronaut, and hopefully I can say this correctly, Soichi Noguchi, who's a JAXA astronaut with a master's degree in aeronautical engineering, a doctorate in philosophy, all from the University of Tokyo. And he, in December 2009, so almost 11 years ago, performed duties as the first left-seater for a Soyuz spacecraft launched to the ISS aboard Soyuz TMA-17 from Kazakhstan, from the Cosmodrome. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think there's anything cooler than calling something a Cosmodrome. I think we really missed the boat by not calling our astronauts cosmonauts, because it just sounds cooler, in my personal opinion. And he also spent 161 days aboard the ISS as a flight engineer and returned to Earth in June 2010. So pretty cool.
They just detached something large.
Yeah, so the second stage just detached from the crew module.
So now it's only
itself.
the module has been, I guess at this point, that means the module has been inserted into orbit, because we're about 12 minutes and 51 seconds into flight here.
Right, and you'll see that the velocity is about 27,000 kilometers per hour. And you remember that the ISS, it rotates or circles the Earth at about 17,000 miles an hour, which is like 28,000 kilometers an hour. So, they're right up about that speed. And my understanding is that they're going to raise their orbit underneath the ISS to approach it. And as they go away, like you would if you were swinging something around you on a string and going around, and if you let the string out, it moves faster. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
You're swinging something with a string, and you let out a little more string, it's actually going faster. And that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're going to kind of like corkscrew their way in their orbit out further until they match the ISS velocity.
Like a figure
and
skater.
they're in their position. Yeah.
And there's still, for sure, a lot of things that can go wrong before they do manage to dock with the space station. But so far, I would say this has been
looking really good.
Picture perfect launch, picture perfect
Nice.
First stage separation, picture perfect second stage separation. They're obviously inserted likely into the proper orbit, even though I can't hear them. And they're just going to go about their business. Probably, I mean, how much Netflix can you watch in 27 hours, honestly, while you're on your way to the space station? Because
my understanding is
to do something.
The first thing they're going to do is they're going to actually take a nap now. So they're going to just kind of get things a little situated, and then they're going to take off their helmets when they get the okay. And then they're going to get out of their suits, which all that takes some time. See the mirror on his wrist? That's kind of interesting.
I will tell you one thing. There is no possible way there would be enough time between 12 minutes ago and now for me to be like, I think it's kind of nappy time. I
think I'd be up.
Adrenaline going through my body would basically be like, nope, there will be no sleeping for the next few hours here.
I agree. That's a sweet jacket.
Does anybody know? Here's a question for you, gentlemen. So you're saying they're gonna get out of their suits basically, and they're just gonna be in their civilian clothing, whatever it is you wear under your spacesuit. Mel maybe knows because he has a very famous spacesuit joke, but I have no idea what you wear. But does anybody know how these guys go to the restroom in the next 27 hours in this capsule? Is that something that they talk about? And we
with
know
great skill, I think, is the answer to that.
Information about that, or because I would assume that's kind of built into the suit, and once they take the suit off, that kind of ability maybe goes away.
So for demo 1, they had about a similar amount of time. I think it was like 25 hours or so. And there were times when they we can't hear the audio, but they'd say, okay, yeah, we're going to turn off our cameras inside, and we're going to be doing, and they kind of knew what they're going to be doing, and they'd either change for bedtime or go to the bathroom or something. And so it's gonna, at some point, I guess they've been up there for a while, right? What was it, over 2 hours they were in the capsule? So I figure you probably have to go to the bathroom at some point.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I would have had to have gone to the bathroom right about 9, 8, 7, 6. There would have probably been some excavating.
A flushing sound from your suit's flushing sound. Tom,
hold on. Oh, sorry guys. I just had to go real quick. Can we just hold the launch for a sec?
My understanding is that in the spacesuit that they're wearing during the launch cycle, they're in diapers.
What do you think?
Which is good for urine, liquid waste, but not for solid waste.
No, it would be terrible.
Otherwise, they use a lot of bags.
How many people watching this wish they were just listening to these 3 ladies talk about intelligent things?
Can you turn up the sound?
That they know. I have no idea what they're saying, but I bet you they're saying interesting things, not about astronauts going to the bathroom.
Well, let me.
Oh, you know what? I could put closed captions.
Did we find out what the zero gravity indicator was? That was one of my questions there. We talked about the little Earth, and the second, which I don't know. Did anybody send us a tweet?
Let me look.
I did not see a tweet. So now they're going through. They're showing the astronauts getting ready before the launch of this bad boy in their lovely spacesuits and their custom-made chairs.
There's Shannon right there.
Look very cool. Yep, there's Shannon.
Yeah, she's pretty badass. They've all been on the space station at least once. I think it's Shannon and Noguchi have been on it twice, or maybe they've all been on it. Everybody but Glover has been up there.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Twice or
I didn't
3
see any
times.
time for him. But,
yeah.
Okay.
I think it was twice or 3 times.
But you only put 2 people having been on the space station in your dock here.
What dock are you guys talking about?
Talking Tesla 187.
Oh,
yep.
Okay.
It's down in the SpaceX section.
Also known as TT 187.
I love that they're taking Model X's out to the pad. It's so great.
I can't wait till they take the Cybertrucks, but yes.
Yeah, cool. That'll be so cool.
Good.
And the ninja suits are pretty sweet as well.
Yeah. Isn't that cool? It's like you got a number on your back.
Yeah.
These guys and gals.
Interesting.
Women,
I think
help them in.
I think I just watched Glover. So Glover obviously is in the Air Force, and he's a test pilot. I believe he may fly the Raptor. I was watching a YouTube video recently, and he was giving, I believe it was him, he was giving a talk at MIT. And so this guy has flown 3 Glover, astronaut Victor Glover, I guess we'll use his entire name because that probably seems more respectful, has accumulated over 3,000 flight hours in more than 40 different aircraft and had 400 carrier arrested landings and flew 24 combat missions. That is very, very impressive work by that young man.
Yeah, that's why he's my first pick for docking with the space station. Tom, you're my second pick.
Yeah, let's go with him. He seems like probably the better. He seems like probably the better move there.
So I'm glad to see you guys have a lot of snacks like piled up around you, because I'm just so impressed. I know I said I couldn't do it, but I was so impressed that you 3 guys are going to stay on for 27 hours until the actual SpaceX docks, the Crew Dragon docks. That's amazing.
I don't have any snacks, and if I sit here for 27 hours, well, there's going to be some restroom problems.
You're going to need a diaper.
What? You don't have your diapers on?
No. So
Michael, is there any other parts to the show, or are we done?
I was going to say, well, I wanted to talk about Michael Hopkins, one of the other astronauts, who's a colonel in the
Anthony
US.
Hopkins' son, actually.
He's a colonel in the U.S. Air Force who has logged 166 days in space total. And he's conducted spacewalks. How many hours has astronaut Hopkins been on spacewalks? Any guesses, gentlemen? Anyone?
14.
Anyone else?
100 hours.
1.
12 hours and 58 minutes. And he did that to change out what is being referred to as a degraded pump module. He holds a Bachelor of Science in Aerospace Engineering from the University of Illinois. And like I said, a Master's of Science in Aerospace Engineering from Stanford University. Pretty darn. He was, in 2008, selected as a special assistant to the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, where he worked until he started his astronaut training, he started his astronaut training in July of 2009.
Wow.
Impressive.
So I know that we're all kind of focused on space right now, and it is really amazing. It's amazing to consider what it would be like to get into that rocket and to blast up to the space station and be up in the space station and see the Earth below you and think about all of the psychology and the awe of it. So I'm going to recommend a book that was once my media pick on Talking Tesla, and it's Endurance by Scott Kelly. And it's one of the best space books that I have read, because it really gives like the personal, gritty sensation, like realization of like, what the F have I gotten myself into? And like the challenges and the difficulties when he came back from a year in space. I mean, he was up there, I think he set the record, and you'll remember, has a brother who just got elected to the Senate. Was it the Senate in Arizona? His twin brother, they're identical twins. They're both astronauts. His brother stayed on Earth while he was in space. Scott Kelly stayed in space, went to space. And they were both the study subjects of a twins study to see what happens to the body in many aspects from prolonged travel in space. So just really fascinating book, Endurance by Scott Kelly. So I'll throw in a media pick there.
That's your media pick?
And the results of that study were very disturbing.
Tell us, Mel.
They found significant damage to his DNA. And it's a bit concerning. And so it's about like shielding, and long travel in space is not necessarily good for you. So I don't want to be in space for a long time without like gold bond over the top of me and stuff over my head and wrap me in cellophane and stuff, because cosmic rays are bad.
Do they know, was it the cosmic radiation that was causing the deformity or whatever problems in his DNA changes? Is that what the deal was?
Yeah, I assume so. It's just because you don't have the magnetic layer, and then you don't have all of the, atmosphere, and so up there you're really quite exposed. And I'm sure that the housing of the space station is probably like, half an inch, quarter of an inch, eighth of an inch thick. Maybe they put a lot of stuff in that lead lined or something. They've got to.
Yeah, but it has actually is quite thin. In fact, there was a time when there was a leak in the Russian module. They talk about it, I think in this book or maybe another book that I read, where there was a leak. It set off alarms, and nobody admitted to it, but seemed like maybe somebody was doing a little repair work, and a drill went a little like off and punctured a hole in the space station. And you would think that's a terrible thing, but evidently it's just like having a leak in your ceiling. They used some epoxy-like Bondo device and just plugged it up. And then they used like I think it was a metal or a fabric type patch over it that just fixed it. So it's like not impossible. Sorry about that. It's not impossible in space. It's not like in the movies where there's a little hole and then all of a sudden the whole thing blows up. That's disingenuous to what really happens in space.
I just fact checked myself, and apparently that is this significant amount of DNA damage is actually not true. So they found that there were some changes to his chromosomes. There was some lengthening of the chromosome stuff, but there wasn't widespread DNA damage as has been reported. So that's good. I'm glad he's not going to turn into a monster that comes.
So you're back in the space game. So you're willing to go up there.
So the space station is fairly thin, but what they've learned is they can use multiple layers of materials, and the sort of high energy particles that hit the station by using so it's not a laminate, but it's multiple layers, tends to stop high energy materials from coming all the way through and then hitting people or things inside the station. But once you get further out, it gets most dangerous. So when you go to the moon or Mars, then you start to deal with more nasty stuff. But even still, though, there were issues for sure.
Yeah, they say this is in The Verge, where they're reporting that they did show that weird things were happening with his chromosomes and stuff, but within a relatively short time of returning from Earth, they had plasticity and basically went back to look like what his brother's chromosomes were looking like. So that's good news. I think I said this before. I used to do research for NASA back in undergraduate days. I didn't go into space.
No, but you are a space case.
Oh, yeah. I have a lot of space up here.
Yeah, you're sort of like a space cadet in some ways.
Yeah, that's right. Hasn't quite made it yet.
Very good, very good.
So is this live feed happening on SpaceX's website for the next 24 hours? Or are they coming back online?
No, they just shut it. They just shut it down for now, and they're going to get back to us later, they say. So
because it's time for the poos and the wheeze.
Time for sleep, poos and wheeze and sleepy time.
Do we know what kind of food are they? What kind of food are they eating in the Crew Dragon? Like what's their space? What are their days like? Are they having astronaut ice cream? Like are they playing like games of ping pong with things floating in the air? Like what's going on up there? Who knows? They're
doing a lot of research. They've got a lot of things to do.
But not in the next 27 hours. They're not doing
No, in the next 27 hours. You've said, did you see the size of those screens? They're Netflixing the crap out of this thing. They're watching every Star Trek episode from the beginning. It's fantastic.
Okay, that's a question for you, gentlemen. Let's say you're in this thing for 27 hours, and they're like, okay, you got to pick a couple of shows. Like, what shows are you picking? Are you picking something you've watched that you're gonna like, or are you picking something that you've never seen? Joel,
I'm watching this. Oh, come on.
I'm going with
restricted.
My first one is Aliens.
Oh, hell no.
Choice.
Hell no. Hell no. There's something wrong with you, Joel. You might be broke. You might be broken. I'm just saying that is the last thing I am watching in space. If I'm watching aliens in space, the next thing I'm doing is where's the eject or get the hell out of here button? That is not happening.
That's one way to freak out your co-astronauts. That's for sure.
Yeah. So who's next?
Melvis.
Oh, definitely the Queen's Gambit. I'd like to watch that again, so I'll knock that off. I would watch Star Trek, the original series, because I love it, and I think that series was so important in the history of spaceflight. If you listen to Elon Musk and so many astronauts and engineers and people that have worked on sort of space, they were inspired by that show. Like, hell yeah, I want to go into space. And it was just really ahead of its time. It only lasted for 3 seasons, but it really had an effect on generations of people.
I can't believe that it was only 3 seasons. It's just, I mean,
Yep.
it's such an impact for 3 seasons, and how many other shows came after it with only 3 seasons?
And it was also really inspirational, I know, for a lot of minority kids, because there were Black people, there were Asian people, there were women, and they were in charge, and they're flying the spaceship. And so you hear people talk about that all the time, about like, oh, I saw myself in space in the future. It was very inspiring. So I just thought it had an amazing impact.
It was even
Kirk
a Russian.
was the best. There was a Russian.
They should have brought a tribble with them as the anti-gravity floaty thing.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe they did. Maybe they did.
A tribble would be amazing if they did that.
That would have been funny.
People go crazy.
The Trouble with Tribbles. That was one of the best ones. That freaked me out as a kid watching that. Like, they won't stop growing. It's terrible.
Yeah, that was, yeah. I can't believe it was only three years, 3 seasons.
3 seasons.
I guess I must have known that, but like Next Generation, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, this other one that they're doing now.
Enterprise.
Yeah. Oh, Enterprise too, which I never really saw. So
maybe
yeah.
you could watch Enterprise while you're up there instead of first season. So okay, here's since we're on the Star Trek thing, favorite Star Trek movie.
The first one.
Yeah, I'm a Wrath of Khan all day long. Wrath of Khan, original Wrath of Khan.
I'm the first one because I was 14 and I saw it in London in a theater, and I just thought it was amazing that Voyager came back after going all the way out, and it was found by aliens and was sent back, and I just thought it was, whoa.
Yeah,
crazy.
V'ger. He called himself
V'ger,
right? Yeah. I like that one a lot too. And was that the first? That was the first one, right? So that was just like, oh wow, yeah.
That scene, I remember watching that scene with my sister as he's lowering that creature into Chekhov's ear, and I think she turned white and passed out. That was so memorable. That was so memorable.
This is a great show because there's 2 separate conversations happening at the same time, which is great. Mel and Joel are talking about Star Trek 1. Robert doesn't realize that he's on a freaking radio show and is like pantomiming putting a bug in his ear. Like,
I thought we were on YouTube.
The only saving grace is that we are actually live on YouTube, but the audio portion, if you're listening to the audio of this, you should stop because it's terrible. There's probably about 2 minutes of silence during the launch where we're not saying anything.
I know.
Maybe we need to post this as a video, Melvis, if at all possible, on iTunes.
No, we can't do that, but that's fine. What else would you bring? So we've got the Star Trek, we've got the Queen's Gambit. Somebody doing Breaking Bad?
I'm watching The Sopranos, so I'm like, because it's nice and long. You got a lot of seasons. You can just like power through a whole bunch of Sopranos, which I started watching again from the beginning, like a week and a half ago. Fascinating show in just the scope of all, obviously, like organized crime family, but the basis of it is that like he's this mob boss and he has to go home and deal with his teenage kids and all kinds of other like craziness that like, could you imagine like Al Capone's kids talking back to him, or like getting drunk and like getting themselves in trouble? You just can't picture things like that. But that's what The Sopranos kind of did, was sort of flip that whole thing into the real life situation.
And I might watch Peaky Blinders again, but then I'd end up with a Cockney accent and probably drive all of my cosmonauts crazy.
That's pretty solid.
I did just start watching Ratchet.
Because you don't get enough hospital in your job, in your day job.
No, that's the hard part about it. But it doesn't look anything like a hospital. The architecture, the interior design in that show blows me away. I want this psychiatrist's office. I mean, I would live in this office. It's just amazing. It looks like something out of I don't know, 1950s, like post-Art Deco, like department store. It's crazy looking. It's amazing.
Did anybody but me, now that you can see what Robert's setup is, does anybody but me think that it's sort of a little Shawshank Redemption thing happening? He's got this thing on the wall, and behind it, I just picture this giant hole that he's been digging to escape from wherever he's at. Like,
actually, that's where the circuit breakers are. It's just ugly as hell. They slapped this box with a circuit breaker and painted it white, and I thought that can't be there. So I took up that's a manta. It's from Bolivia. I brought that back. I spent a summer in Bolivia when I was in medical school. And that's the traditional woven blanket that's used for, that would be carrying somebody's groceries home from the market. You'd wrap them up in there and kind of hold it like a pouch.
Let's talk about electric things for a while. Have you guys been watching Long Way Up?
No, even though my friend made it a recommendation on the show, I didn't watch it. That's your fault though, Tom, because you were panning it. You were like, "Oh my God, I can't."
You didn't like it.
I got a negative vibe on that.
I was giving you guys an honest representation of how the electrical aspect of it was working, and that was frustrating. But I mean, it's still a good show. That's weird. Like, I don't believe I was panning the show. I wasn't like, "Oh my God, the production values are terrible." It was kind of sad to see them, at times have to abandon their bikes, and it's been pretty good. They just entered Mexico in the last episode that I watched. So it's, they've gotten pretty far. They had all kinds of issues with one of the bikes and had to do all kinds of shipping, but they ended up hiring, I can't remember where they were, but they hired an Antonov cargo airliner to bring a bunch of bikes and gear from one town or from one country to another, because there's this one part at the tip of South America, beginning of Central America, that you really shouldn't be in. Like, it's a very dangerous part of the world, apparently. And what I learned was you cannot fly an Antonov in North America or Europe, because it's the like aviation community says like it's a no fly airplane, but they still have them in South America. So it's
not a safe airline.
I don't think that's a good story if they're if they can't really make the trip. Essentially, you don't pick a trip if you can't make the trip.
Yeah, I think they ran into a lot of technical problems. So they ran into some issues with one of the Harleys, and it needed some parts, and they couldn't get, the only place they could kind of get, Harley Davidson could sort of guarantee they could get the parts at a certain time was in Panama. Again, generally, like, this is the first time anything like this has ever been attempted, and they attempted it not only on prototype motorcycles but in prototype Rivians. So you got to give them a little bit of like a break as it pertains to that. It's not like they were like, "Oh, let's use Model X's that we know will have a thing." Like, they needed to have, and I don't understand actually why they decided not to use Model X's, because it's a proven platform that isn't in prototype form, and it can carry quite a bit of materials, but maybe they got some kind of financial support from Rivian. It's hard to know like exactly what was going on.
I mean, it's cool. It goes to what Rivian wants to be, for sure, and you can't sweat them for trying to do something that's ambitious. I mean, it sounds like it was very ambitious.
I think 50-50.
I guess I just need
I think the trucks are doing about as good as the bikes. Like both the trucks have had some issues, mostly with charging, and the bikes have had issues with. I think there was some inverter issue and stuff like that. But in general, like they're going to cool places. They're finding interesting things. They were on a boat recently as well, so they're doing all kinds of things. Is it this pure electric journey from the tip of South America back to Los Angeles? No, it is not.
It's probably as pure as you can get.
It probably is. Although I do wonder if they were using petrol bikes and vehicles, if they would have still had to have done some of the things that they've had to do. I don't know like what part of that was based on the like technical issues with the vehicles. You've lost your connection behind you, Joel. It's wonderful back there.
Yeah, I'm noticing.
It was showing talking test. That was great. I was really loving it.
No, it was good. He's really like next leveling the thing behind his shoulder. He's got like a whole control center in front of him.
Got to mount a screen behind me. Jesus,
it's not mounted, mind you. But can I do a media pick before we end this?
Yes. All right, do it.
So there was a Kickstarter. I think her name is Selena Gomez.
What?
And she created a coloring book of based on Elon Musk's tweets, essentially. And I'll show you if you're on, because even though we're radio, we are also on YouTube right now. Some of the things, and it's just a coloring book. I thought it might be kind of cool to send to the kids, but basically each page is paired with a tweet. Like the last one was Tesla semi. That was all that was. Let's see what this one was. This
what does it have for the pedo guy?
Wow. You needed to say that. You had to go there, right?
So I don't know if you remember the tweet where he said the Mars sky is opposite of Earth, blue sunrise and sunset red so it's red during the day, and then the sunset in Mars is blue. And then so she drew a representation of a sunset, and there's a number of them, but I just thought I saw her doing it, and I just figured I'd contribute, and we'll give that to my kids for a nice little book. And so I think you can still get them. It's a Kickstarter. I would just Google GTS, I guess. But it's Elon Musk's coloring book.
So I guess you don't allow your children to watch Talking Tesla, because then they would discover what their Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa gifts are ahead of time.
Right. Yeah, they're downstairs. They should be getting to bed now.
All the time.
Mm-hmm. So that's my pick.
Nice.
So I don't know if you guys are on Instagram, and this is another. It's not necessarily a media pick or anything, but I've been seeing this thing in my feed, and they're doing like a GoFundMe or one of those whatever kind of things. Somebody's building an ice chest that will fit in the frunk of the Teslas. So they have one that's like, the one that I've been seeing is like a half size cooler that sits in the frunk of the Model 3 and has like a pneumatic lid on it, and one of those thick roto wall kind of things, like a Yeti style cooler that you can so you can have an ice chest in the front of your Model 3, or the frunk of your Model 3 as you drive around. And I'm assuming they'll have one for the Model Y and all the other. And I thought that's actually pretty ingenious.
I would pay almost any amount of money for that. Can you imagine, like, you've got your beers in one half of it, you've got your turkey sandwiches and stuff in the other, and you just pull that car up, pop the frunk, boop, party.
Maybe Mark at RPM Tesla will start to distribute something like that once it's made, and then we can give them away on the show, Mark. I'll be like, Robert, you've won one. Mel Herbert, you've won one.
Yeah, I'm looking
Mark. Mark just has to deal with all of our crap all the time.
Yeah, I'm trying to find if anybody's actually sent us any tweets if we're giving away any of these things, or
I'm not
if
sure
we get
how
to keep
Twitter
them all
works.
ourselves.
I've been on our Twitter feed, and I don't know if anybody's been sending us any information or anything like that. What is this poll that who put this poll up?
Oh yeah, Robert, you saw the poll. Do you want to give us any information?
The poll question that one of you lunatics posted, which I really don't even understand, is guess who got into the next round of full self-driving beta. And answer number 1 is the Earl of Frunkpuppy, Mel in one of his 3 Teslas, Robert, Tom, aka Richard, which I think means someone called me a dick. Is that what's happening? Like, what the hell is wrong with you guys? Like, I will change the password to Twitter. You guys know that, right? Like, I have the capability of doing that. I will change the password. Why am I AKA Richard? Who posted this first off? Raise your hand. Joel figures. Yeah. The new guy.
So Richard, the Richard reference is, there was one, Talking Tesla listener. I think his name is Tevin.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, he said he was complaining about something on the show, and he said, and Richard did this, and I was like, who's Richard?
It's a new
And
guy.
it was you. Yeah. He's like, oh, there's so many new people, I don't know who's who.
That's right.
So
there's so many new people.
Right. So one of those. So Frunkpuppy is Earl. He's fairly popular, and he's got a lot of followers, and has been complaining to Elon since the beginning that he doesn't have FSD. So I figured I'd rub that in a little bit. And then these other folks, does anybody know who that is? Are we ready to announce that?
The Earl of Frunkpuppy? Who is the Earl of Frunkpuppy? What does that even What does that even mean?
It's a person. He just told you it's a person.
Yeah.
Okay. So the currently leading with we had 280 votes to this tweet of insanity, poll of insanity, I will call it, and 53% of respondents have picked the Earl of Frunkpuppy as the person who got into the next round of full self-driving beta. 20% has chosen Mel in one of his 3 Teslas. 15% have chosen Robert, and 12% has chosen Tom, aka Richard. Which is great. So according to Talking Tesla Nation, the Earl of Frunkpuppy is the correct answer.
But what is the actual answer, Joel? Tell us, Joel.
The actual answer is I will be getting full self-driving. Wow. My name was thrown in as a member of the LA Owners Club, Tesla Owners Club on the board of directors. So I haven't yet gotten an email. I'm going to check right now as we're talking. I haven't yet gotten an email from Tesla saying, I have to sign a bunch of paperwork because there's a NDA. There's like an agreement I have to be. Well, from what I've been told is that you need to limit. So if you have negative comments, you should email them, sort of like what our motto is at Talking Tesla. If you have negative comments, you should email them. And if you have positive comments, you can go ahead and share it on social media. Some people have taken that to believe that they weren't able to talk on a YouTube channel or on a podcast, but obviously that is happening. So and, what's the worst they could do is take it away.
I hate to interrupt you. So Tesla is making you sign half a non-disclosure agreement, basically. You can disclose good news, but not bad news. What the hell is that?
The reality is I did speak to a couple people that I one of them was Kim that we had the interview with, but a couple other folks too that had FSD beta. There's plenty of people that are posting on YouTube everything, including positive and negative, So I just think they don't want you to be overly negative. Is sort of what they're asking. But Kim has been on plenty of interviews. She's posted tons of stuff. Your other folks Robert, have been posting.
Yes.
Tesla of Silicon Valley has posted a ton of stuff. And there's one guy that actually I wanted to interview too. His name is Brandon, and he posts negative and positive things. So
this is huge. I mean, this is like, you're one of, we think 25, 30 people.
Well, if they've opened it up to the Tesla Owners Club leadership, that's probably an additional 100 people, something like that. But actually, it would be less than that because it's only in the United States. So all the folks in Europe and Australia aren't on that, or China, Japan, they're not part of that group. So
they're not looking at driving record at all then, right?
Yeah. They apparently weren't like, whose car's been totally demolished a couple of times.
For example, behind me, I'm pointing at part of Robert's car, right?
Yeah.
Like on the wall of the studio.
There
right
it is, yeah. And so is this currently been turned on for you, Robert?
No, I have, like I said, I haven't gotten the, I'm looking here now. I've signed.
Have you had your
something, but
hardware
that's not it.
updated?
Yeah, no, I'm currently at 40.8.13, but it's 44.10 is the latest of the full self-driving beta. So I'm
he
not
had
there.
a new car already though, so he has the hardware.
Yeah, I've got all the bells and whistles.
Oh, you have the hardware. You have the hardware capability, so you don't need an upgrade in your hardware whatsoever.
That's right. And just recently, there was a guy who emailed or tweeted to Elon, I think it was today or yesterday, that he had a full self-driving, completed, fully loaded Tesla that got totaled 3 weeks after he bought it. He wants to be able to transfer the full self-driving, which for him, I think was $7,000 or $8,000, to another car. And that tweet, to my knowledge, has not been responded to, but I'm waiting for them to open that up because I'm sitting here with an email from Tesla regarding my totaled 2018 Model S. Am I ready to come in for a new computer? And I'm thinking of you, Tom.
Well, I mean, I think so. I've been reading a lot of these comments online about this situation, and what I think their take. I mean, in a totaled car, I agree. There should be, in a totaled car, your insurance company honestly should actually cover the cost of replacing the full self-driving. So, to me, that's pretty cut.
What if you're with Tesla Insurance?
Yeah, again, they should cover.
It's part of the value of the car,
right? It would be like anything. If your car got totaled and you had put $10,000 worth of stereo equipment into it, and you had receipts for that, your insurance company would reimburse you for some of that. So it kind of falls under that. And the other comments that I've been seeing a lot, which also sort of make a lot of sense to me, is theoretically, if you buy a car with full self-driving, it has a higher resale value, right? So you're getting some additional money out of that full self-driving that you could then transfer to the next vehicle. Now, I don't know. It still feels a little weird because the other side of that is it's probably quite a bit of work for Tesla to sort of turn off full self-driving in one car and put it on the other. Although I hear that's also something that is happening, is that if you sell your car, they can actually turn full self-driving off and charge the next driver for full self-driving again. And I don't know if that's happening or not happening, because when you, at least in the past, and I haven't looked in a while on Tesla's website for used vehicles, they say like full self-driving enabled, not enabled. And I don't know, they don't say like, oh, it used to have full self-driving, but we turned it off. But there is the potential for Tesla, if you like say, leased a car, bought full self-driving, return that leased car to Tesla, they could then charge the next person for another full self-driving and kind of double down on that situation. Now, I don't know that they're doing that. I'm not saying that they're doing it, but that's the sort of chatter that's going on the web about like this sort of thing. Yes, Robert.
But that would be a problem because if I bought your car and you had already bought full self-driving, and I'm going to pay you for your car an additional value
Mm-hmm.
for that full self-driving, and then Tesla turns around and charges me. That's like a double jeopardy.
Yeah, I don't think in that case it would happen, like if it was being sold private party to private party. But what I'm saying is, like, theoretically, if you turn that car into Tesla, if I were to sell my car back to Tesla and they were to resell it to you, there was some chatter. And again, I don't know if this is backed up by any actual information, that Tesla was like turning off full self-driving and then charging the next driver for it, which is weird. Like, so that in that case, it's not attached to either a car or to a driver, which is what people want it to be. They want it to be charged to the owner. But in that particular instance, for Tesla, and maybe this doesn't make long-term financial sense, like Mel could have bought full self-driving once, which he's bought full self-driving many, many times, and transferred that basically in perpetuity. So in 25 years, on Mel's 25th Tesla, he could then get full self-driving, just to keep going. And maybe that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't know. I'm really wishy-washy about this whole full self-driving thing. I understand. But yes, Robert, or Joel. I'm sorry, it was Joel.
So where the history of some of this angst came from was a story where someone sold or bought a car that did have full self-driving, and Tesla took it away. But later, like a few days later, Tesla gave it back, and Tesla basically said there's some weird information, and that's why this happened. But the user should have gotten it. I haven't heard any other stories where someone sold a car with FSD that hasn't gotten it.
Okay.
So my feeling is that if I can sell my car to someone else and get more money for FSD and it stays there, then I need to go and buy FSD again.
I agree. It's got to be with the car.
Right. So if that's the case, okay. But if Tesla decides, no, it's really if they do something where they take it away, then I think they need to give me the FSD and keep me around.
Right. But then in the situation that like Mel finds himself in quite often, right, it's sort of like if it stays with the car, but it's a lease and it never works, right? Like, and it's never full self-driving for one day. Like, you never get the product that you paid for. Then I could see them saying like, okay, let's just transfer it to the next car, to the next car, to the next car. Right. But but we read it. We were voxing over the week where Elon had put out some information that he's got like 200 software engineers and another 800 people working on the full self-driving. So they're investing a lot of money in this.
Oh, yeah.
So again, I'm a little bit on the fence as to whether or not they should continue to. I don't think they should continue to raise the price for something that isn't working yet. Like, once it's working, have at it, do whatever you want. But if you've paid for something and never actually gotten that, to me, there's some wiggle room there.
Yeah, I think there's two situations. There's leasing and there's buying. So leasing, they have to come up with some way for you to pay an extra amount per month so that when the lease ends, you get back. But like, so if I have my Model Y and I bought it with full self-driving and I paid an extra, or however many, it changes every 5 minutes. Let's say I spend an extra $5,000 on it, but I want to sell it in 2 years because I know there's a Y coming that is going to have significantly more range. They're going to stop people. They will disincentivize people to buying full self-driving if that doesn't become a part of the value of the car. So if I want to sell it to Joel, like, Joel, I got this beautiful Y and it's got full self-driving, and then Tesla says, no, you don't. Joel can't get that. He has to buy it again. And that's going to be 12 grand by the time I sell it to Joel. It really, so I spent this extra money and I don't get the value from it. So I put in the $5,000 or $10,000, but I know I'm not going to get that back. I'm going to be unlikely to buy that again if I'm the kind of person that's going to sell a car every couple of years.
So this, if there is a precedent, there is that for unlimited supercharging. So some of us who've been around with Tesla for a while know that if you bought a car, and I believe this was like, this ended at the end of January 2017. End of January 2017 were the last cars that they openly sold with unlimited supercharging. They did do a couple of episodes after that where they said, if you buy a car now before the end of this quarter or whatever, we'll give you unlimited supercharging, or you could get it through a couple of promotions like that. But that was the end of the standard unlimited supercharging for Tesla. Those cars retained the unlimited supercharging. So if you went on the Tesla website to buy cars, they had a little icon that indicated unlimited supercharging. I don't know what, I have a feeling now that they're backing out on that. Not that it could possibly involve any significant amount of money, that if somebody with a car that had unlimited supercharging sold it now, they would, I'm not sure how solid Tesla is on maintaining that unlimited supercharging.
I mean, they were still, again, I haven't looked on the used site in a while, and I can take a peek in there and kind of see, but that was definitely the last time they were still selling used Teslas, pre-owned Teslas, let's call them, on their website. And they were still having supercharging attached to them. But let's take a peek and see if there's any information that I can find while you gentlemen fill time with all of your genius conversation.
So there's one question I have for you guys is, do you think there'll be a time when Tesla stops selling FSD to people, and maybe they still sell cars, but they stop selling FSD and they retain the FSD cars for themselves and make that money for themselves?
We've talked about this a lot in the past. It makes no sense to me, 0 sense to me, if FSD really works, for Tesla to ever sell a car to you or me ever again. If truly FSD turns a Model 3 into a $300,000, $500,000 money generating machine, why would they ever sell one? It makes no sense. Or they're going to have to sell them for $300,000. And you turn it into a taxi and try and make $400,000 out of it over the life of it. At some point, if this actually works, they have to stop selling cars.
But we've actually had people call us about this or send us messages about this. We're talked about, there's still times where people want their own car. Like if you have your golf clubs and you want to leave them in the car for a little while or whatever, like there's some use case situations that, I just don't know if that is going to come to as much fruition as we think it is. I mean, maybe eventually it is, but I still feel like people just want to own their cars. But so I'm on the Tesla used inventory website. There's a 2016 Model S was the first one that kind of came up. It's located in Santa Barbara. It's only got 30,000 miles. It's a 75, and it does not have, there's no notification of unlimited supercharging. And in fact, it has a 30-day premium connectivity trial. So if you buy this 2016 car that my guess is was sold with premium connectivity attached to it, you now have to pay for premium connectivity on a monthly basis for a used vehicle. Well, and I think that's actually pretty interesting. So Tesla has definitely kind of flipped its selling model. There's a listing for a 2017 Model S, a 75, and $43,000. So a pretty good price for a car with 38,000 miles on it. And I would say a Tesla with 38,000 miles on it is a pretty new,
is that Model
vehicle.
S?
These are all Model S's that I'm looking at right now. So none of them appear to be coming with full self with supercharging for life. But I don't know. Let's go back. I'm going to go back and see if there's
Can I just interrupt you for a second, Tom?
Mel has a question.
Sure.
Well, I just think we blew over that to talk about something that's way less important. And again, it's what Joel said. What Joel said is fundamentally like life-changing, earth-shattering. It makes no sense for Tesla to sell you a car if full self-driving actually works. And I don't think the media hasn't dealt with this, and Elon hasn't talked about this. This is a fundamental transitional thing that people aren't talking about because they don't get it. If Tesla really has solved full self-driving or will soon, you will not be able to buy a Tesla. You'll be able to buy a Leaf. You'll be able to buy something else that doesn't have that, but there is no financial incentive for them to ever sell a car again until they've flooded the market, which will be never.
So so in that model that you're talking about, right? That means theoretically, if they're done with full self-driving, you won't be able to buy a Cybertruck, right? That's just not happening, right? We know that's not happening. So the real question is, do we believe in some ways, because they're taking orders, that Tesla doesn't think FSD is going to work to the point where they can have they're never going to get to level 5. Like they're going to get to level 4 advanced, and that's it.
I think it actually does exactly that. It's showing that they don't believe that with the technology they have right now, they can actually do what Elon has been saying.
Well, I think there's
multiple. To be a new
multiple.
chipset. There's going to have to be something else, because if they believed it, you would not be able to buy a car a year or two from now. It would not be worth it.
And they may not. I think they just are straddling the fence a bit. So you continue down this road of okay, we're going to sell these cars, and here's the next. We're going to have a $25,000 car, and we're going to do this. There's going to be plenty of markets where they're not going to be allowed to do that. Europe is going to be, let's say they have it today. I bet Europe won't go for it for 5 years. They'd want it. I mean, they're not even allowing certain degrees of turning for autopilot right now. So there's going to be markets where they're going to have to sell. And then secondly, yeah, go ahead.
And where are you going to see robo taxis? You're going to see it in Los Angeles, in New York, in Chicago, cities, in large areas where people are willing and have a interest in that, where Uber penetration and Lyft penetration is very high. But you're not going to see that, like, even in far suburban areas or in rural areas. So if you live in, I don't know, some like Leventon, Kansas, and you want a car and you want a Tesla, well, there is no Uber taxi for you out there. So, how are you going to thread that needle is the question.
No.
So I understand we're living in the intertestament period. But again, if they are constrained in the ability to create cars, why would they sell a car to somebody for $50,000 in a rural area when they could have a robo version of that car in London and Australia and Sydney and for $300,000? It would make no sense for them to sell it. Like, let Nissan, who can't actually have their cars drive by themselves, sell them to those people. If the value of the car is as big and they can sell it to every person in the city, most people live in the cities, they will stop selling Teslas. Again, I go back to what Joel said. If this is true, then they're going to stop selling cars. So if this logic is right, and of course it is because it's mine, it's what you said, that they're not quite there yet. That we're living in this place where, dang, it's right there, but it's really not a year away. It's nearly not 2 years away. We're in this part where it's kind of there, but not really for a couple of years.
But so the question is, if you're on the fence, do you put a reservation on a Cybertruck now because you think they're not going to sell them, right? Or because will they put the Cybertruck on the Robo fleet as well? Like that car, it doesn't make sense for it to be a Robo taxi, right? It doesn't make sense in a lot of ways for that. The other aspect of it is, in a world where you have there's 300 million cars in America, like some huge amount of cars. Where are all of these robo cars going to be charged, right? Are they going to build an infrastructure where these cars go to a central depot and a person is plugging them in, or the snake, the robot snake charger miraculously starts to work at some point? Because they don't talk about that thing anymore either, right? So you would think all of that stuff would be happening in concert with one another and going. So the question, I guess, to you gentlemen is, if you believe that eventually Tesla is going to stop selling you a vehicle and you really want a Cybertruck, if you're listening to this show, I'm going to go one at a time. I'm going to start with you, Joel. Do you recommend to our listeners to put a deposit down on a Cybertruck today? Because if Tesla finishes FSD in the next 6 months, they're not going to sell you one if you don't already have a deposit.
I'd put $100 down. I'd put $100 down on a Y or a Cybertruck or whatever I wanted. It's still going to take a bit of time, for one, and I think there's going to be markets where it's going to be a slog it out kind of thing.
Okay.
And but yeah, I do think for them, you know, if they can make $300,000 for a vehicle instead of what, 5,000 maybe from a vehicle, Mel's right. Why wouldn't you do that? But I think they're gonna straddle the fence, and they're gonna do it either way. Maybe you can't buy FSD, and they're gonna flood the markets where they can with their FSD, with Tesla owned FSD cars. And again, even though I don't like it, because I want to make sure I have one or two, is you know, I think that's what is going to happen. It's just when it's going to happen.
Will they? So let me ask you this. So Melly, same question to you. Do you recommend that our listeners put a deposit on a Tesla with full self-driving now?
Guess what? It doesn't matter, because if you're a Tesla, you'll take the $100 deposit, and if you've cracked it and the neural network makes it go from okay to great, they'll go, oh, sorry, here's your money back. We screwed up. Now, let me go make $300,000 out of your vehicle. So that putting the deposit down will mean absolutely squat to them.
Robert?
I think they're just going to address the market through the price of full self-driving. So we've already seen them increase autopilot. I think it started out at a couple of $1,000s. Then they added the full self-driving upgrade, which it wasn't really called full self-driving, but it's gone steadily up. Now we're at 10 grand for the full ride, if you will. That could go to 20 or 50 or $100,000. So if you were interested in turning a Model X or Y, or 3, I should say, 3 or Y, into a money-making taxi, you might pay $100,000 for that full self-driving technology. I mean, what would what was it called? OTTO. There was a company that was created, I think it was swallowed up by Google and Waymo, that was putting full self-driving rigs onto the semi-tractor trailers. And this thing would be able, it was in a short order, was able to drive those things completely autonomously on highways. OTTO, auto, if that's what you're going to look up, Joel. Anyway, that was like, I think it was a $20,000 or a $30,000 add-on. So it's all a matter of how much you're willing to pay for full self-driving. And I think that that's how they would probably address it. I don't think they would be like eminent domaining your deposits away from you.
So do you think, but if you make a deposit right now for a Cybertruck, and basically they're locking you into the price, because it says selecting full self-driving today will secure your price as it increases in the future. Now, I'll turn this around a little bit on you guys. Do you think Tesla, if they won't sell you a car with full self-driving because they can make a ton of money on a car with full self-driving, will they just sell cars without full self-driving? Melvis?
So first of all, we should read the legal agreement. I guarantee you that there is a line in there that's saying Tesla can give you your money back pretty much for any reason we effing want. Because again, it makes no sense, 0 cents for Tesla to sell you a car without full self-driving for $50,000 when they can go and take that thing out there and make $300,000 profit out of it. This just makes no sense. The only way you're getting a car in the next few years is because they haven't gotten it right, or because of legislation reasons that they can't sort of push them out there yet. So there is I can't see any way around this. There's just a small period of time. Either they're lying and they're not going to get close to the technology, or people just haven't been smart enough to work this out. So if you want to have a Tesla a few years from now, and you want to make sure that you don't have to pay $100,000 for full self-driving in a few years, you better buy it soon. This is like the medallions in the taxi cabs in New York. Why do those things cost so much? Because that car can generate hundreds of thousands of dollars over a number of years. It's exactly the same with Tesla. It'll be like buying a medallion. That medallion is going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you want to buy one soon.
So I just opened the Cybertruck pre-order agreement, and I'm assuming it's the same for all Teslas. And the last line of pre-order process cancellation changes section, which is looks like main paragraph 3 of this thing. The last line says, this pre-order payment and this agreement are not made or entered into anticipation of or pending any conditional sale contract. So it's basically like,
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for your $100. It means diddly squat.
Right.
So guys, I'm looking on the YouTube channel, and we had a few people sending us messages, including Mark from RPM Tesla and Elon's Brain and a number of other folks saying hello. So next time we'll have to say hello to folks.
Yes.
Thanks, Joel.
I just love talking about this one thing. I could talk about it all night because it's, to me, the most fascinating part of Tesla right now.
So it doesn't matter. So you're saying like, get a pre-order, don't get a pre-order. They may not, but eventually Tesla's not selling us cars eventually if they crack FSD to a level 5.
Yes, and that's why what Joel and Robert are saying is so interesting. It's like we're in this weird place that it's not quite there yet. So what's happening and how does that work? So they still want to be selling as many cars as they can, but at some point, and I'm thinking like when the neural network knocks on Elon's door, is this thing on? Elon, we cracked it. He'll be like, okay, shut down sales right now. It'll be like off switch. All done. Stop selling to the humans.
Yeah.
So there's only one other thing. So if it's pure profit, I completely agree. It just makes the most sense to do what you said. If it's actually, they still believe that they can accelerate sustainable transportation by selling cars, then they'll balance the selling of maybe it's selling you a car without FSD, or hopefully, which is what I'd like, is let me use FSD just for my family, and that's about it. But I think they've done a good job of. I believe that the company's mission is not a fake mission. I believe they believe it, and so if they believe that they still need to manufacture based and sell cars to people to sort of continue things going until everybody buys into the FSD future and robotaxi future, then I think they'll do that. Let me add one point is when I was listening to that 2-hour video with JB Straubel, Selena, and the guy from BASF, the one thing that I didn't mention that I wish I had mentioned the last time, the most striking thing was how BASF was focused purely on profit. And when they did talk about sustainability, it was a throwaway line. It was just sort of like, we're trying to be as efficient as possible, get the cost down as much as possible so you can sell these batteries. And then he'd throw in an occasional for sustainability's sake or things like that. Whereas Selena and JB, you could tell that they believed in the mission, and they talked just like Tesla talks in terms of sustainability and the future of, the future of the planet, yada, yada. So I do believe that they believe it.
The planet.
No, well, yeah. I yeah, great. Yeah, I yada, yada the best part. So I think I think we'll get the right answer. I'm hoping that because I do like to I'd like to own a car still, I think. So I'm hoping that it still is that they sell if they see it's worth it.
But you may have to let your
you said something
brother.
Go, Robert. Go.
You may have to let your brother-in-law in the middle of Kansas buy it for you, though.
Yeah.
I was thinking though, Joel, like if looking at the economics of this, I'm not an economics major. If they can make these cars so profitable by putting them on the network, Joel, they can it's more profitable for them to make like 3 or 4 $25,000 electric vehicles and give them away, and then put other cars on the Tesla network. I mean, this is just how ridiculous the economics are of a fully self-driving robo cab. Give away cars to people who cannot afford them if they live in poor areas, but just let us kill this thing in terms of selling it to the people who have money. So if you want to do full sustainability, yes, just like make a ridiculous amount of profit and give it away in various forms in solar panels and cars to other people. It's just I don't know how many $1 trillion market there is if it is true that they can do this. If they can do it before anybody else, it's unbelievable how big this is.
Yeah, but don't you believe that like we're such a habitual people, and like people just keep so much crap with them in their vehicles, right? There's so much stuff that people keep in their vehicles. How do you address like
the addressing is in the amount of money it's going to cost to buy the damn car? It's over. There'll be a phase change in how you think about transportation. I'm like you, Tom. I got the bicycle. I got the golf clubs. I got the surfboard. I've got cookies from 3 years ago. I got everything in that car. But when any car can come and get me, I'll have to change the way that thing is. I'm never going to buy a Cybertruck. But if a Cybertruck is going to take me, go up into the Sierras with you, good times. And that's going to bring me back. And then that's the one time you need it that year. Thank you. We're done.
Can I read a letter that's related to this? From Sean M. Message. Hello, Talking Tesla. I love the show. Long-time listener. You know, he's just buttering us up there. Yeah, I just wanted to bring up a quick note on how I think everyone is being overly optimistic about the demand for robotaxi. Goes against many trips where people need and want their personal vehicle. A lot of it is how much stuff people have, as you guys have talked about, and don't want to walk around with it when the robotaxi drops them off. Car seats, what a parent's going to do, shopping bags, vacation luggage, snowboards, jackets, golf clubs. He puts in sunglasses. I mean, okay.
I can carry those.
Yeah, I can carry those for sure, right? You know, I would get a robotaxi, but I just have no place to put my sunglasses. A robotaxi world would act just like a taxi. When it drops you off, you take everything with you. That just doesn't seem to fit most people's conduct. But I think we think that in some cases, I think it's, you know, ultimately it's going to be a, you know, economy, the economic invisible hand sort of thing. You know, maybe people won't have 3 cars. Maybe they'll just have 1 car, or maybe they'll have 2 cars, and some people won't have any, and they'll figure a way to carry some of that stuff. But I know how many times I go to a restaurant when I just want to get into the restaurant and not look around for 20 minutes in Boston looking for a place to park. That's where it really comes into play. I'm gonna pick Mel.
So I think it shows a little.
I couldn't tell.
We need to be more imaginative, because the car is moving you around, but I don't need the car anymore. So there'll be this little electric box, and I'll just throw my crap in the box, and the box is going to just take off and go park itself, and I'll do my thing for the day. And then when I need to get back in the car again, that little electric box thing will then just attach itself to the car when I go home, and then I'll detach it and I'll take the stuff out. Again, it doesn't have to be the car. There'll be parts of the car where you put all your crap, it'll just detach itself and go off. So it doesn't have to be linked to you. But then when you want your car, you've finished your restaurant thing, then the little electric box will attach itself to the Model 3, and then you'll drive home. So your crap can go with you, but in a different way.
Okay, that's cool. Like, so now Mel has created some sort of autonomous metal box to hold your umbrella. Like that's a perfect example. An umbrella, a jacket, all kinds of little things.
Have you seen the ads for FedEx? Have you seen the FedEx ads and stuff where they're like, these little robots are flying around bringing you your medicine, bringing you your stuff? That's what we're talking about with full autonomy. You can have a little thing, a big thing. It changes everything. And in terms, everything. whether it's like, I just want to throw my handbag in something and it'll follow me later, or I want to throw my children into something and it'll follow me later.
Well, I would personally like to thank you, Mel, for financing this future, because you have paid for full self-driving many times.
So many times.
So thank you. And Robert, you have a comment that you'd like to make about this conversation?
Yeah, so it's all about your paradigm and what you believe. So yes, I agree. I go to work and back. I have like 2 sets of scrubs in my car, work shoes in my car, a bunch of like disinfectant that I can sweat, lather up with after I get done at work. I have my goggles, my helmet, all this stuff that I use. And yes, if I used a robo taxi, it would be difficult. I'd be like carrying like a very big duffel bag every day to and from work. Could I do that? Yes, I could. So let's look at how much it costs us right now to have our personal chariots, right? You have to pay for the damn thing, right? How much is that? At least $600 a month, $1,000 a month, depending
I'm
on
paying
which
around
Tesla you pick.
$750 a month for my vehicle.
And then you're going to pay another $150 to $250 in insurance. You're going to pay to keep it up, to keep it clean, to put some electricity in it, albeit that's not very much. Easily, you're going to dump $1,000 a month. That's 12 grand a year. What if your robo taxi cost you a third of that? Would you throw $8,000 away? What would you do with $8,000? Would you fix yourself, change your paradigm so that, like when I was living in New York a couple of times, there is no such thing as having a car. I mean, practically speaking, in New York. So I would be, when I left in the morning, I'm thinking about all the stuff I need until tonight at 8 o'clock when I might get home. All the jackets, the sweaters, the whatever supplies that I need to take with myself. And I would carry a backpack. And at times it would be inconvenient. I'd be getting on a subway and I'm like, oh shoot, where's my umbrella? Where's my jacket? I have to change my paradigm because I don't have my personal chariot to dump all of this crap into. But honestly, how much of that crap that I've dumped into my personal chariot do I even forget is there in the first place? We'll adapt. We will adapt. And I believe, like Mel does, that the robo taxi will be the future, and we won't even think twice about it. It'll be like, I needed to get something at Trader Joe's. I'm just going to go downstairs, and as I'm going downstairs or walking out to the street, I'm pushing a couple of quick buttons, and boom, the robo taxi is there. I get in and I go. And if I forgot something, okay, I'll take the robo taxi back. It's not that expensive. It's not like I'm, breaking the bank. No.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's the I got to bring my mic back here. Whoop. It's the George Jetson's future that we grew up with kids, and I think we need to start thinking about that way if this technology really comes to fruition in terms of cars, in terms of drones, in terms of robots that are zooming around the streets. It changes everything. The way we live changes completely.
Rostro. Remember that? That was his dog.
No. Oh,
Astro.
there you go.
Rostro.
So are we ready to end it here, folks?
Should we just
I
talk
think you
tequila
are.
for a minute? Should we talk tequila for just a moment?
Let's talk tequila and then end it.
Oh,
All right.
yeah.
That was
Go ahead,
another
Herbert.
poll that somebody put out. Did I put that? I think I put that one out.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys get some tequila, Tom? Tesla tequila?
Did I purchase Tesla tequila? No, I did not. I'm disappointed I didn't purchase Tesla tequila because I would be reselling Tesla tequila if I had purchased Tesla tequila, because it's worth a considerable amount of dollars on the secondary market.
Yeah, what's the current bid price for Tesla tequila?
I'm looking right
Thank
now,
you.
my friend. Although
Because when I was first looking at it, it first came out, I think it was around 2 o'clock in the afternoon that the Tesla tequila for $250 offer dropped. And I looked at it and I was like, finally, there it is, Tesla tequila or Tesla tequila. And I then started looking very carefully at who made it and where was it from. And I did like literally quite a bit of research. I don't think I have the paper on which I wrote my research, which is a fail on my part. And I own that, but it's from a firm down in Manhattan Beach, which is, or Hermosa Beach here in Los Angeles. So right in our backyard. And it turns out it's two guys who started this tequila company as part of a project for their college. They were told to market something, and it was in a marketing class. It couldn't be a tech item. So they decided, one of them, I think, is from, or his family is from Oaxaca, which is, or from Jalisco, where the tequilas are primarily made. So they decided to start with a tequila, and they called themselves Nosotros, which means we in Spanish. And they created a blanco, or a clear, a crystal, or a silver tequila, and a reposado, which is just a slightly aged tequila, less than a year, and sell it for $45 a bottle. But they didn't have a reposado, they didn't have a añejo, which is the longer aged, over a year tequila. They've since introduced a mezcal. And then it turns out they were, I think they were making an añejo tequila, and somehow at some sort of an event in San Francisco, they must have run into some Tesla people. And then Elon made the promise like almost 2 years ago that he was going to make Tequila. And somehow this all fell together. And I expect that their añejo, which they had started to make, but takes, like I said, over a year to age, was coming like to fruition. And the Tesla entity, whoever it was, if it was Elon or somebody within Tesla, made a deal with them and probably bought out their whole line of añejo. And I agree, Tom. When I first saw that, I thought, wow, this would be great. I'm going to buy it. And I scrolled down and I saw $250. That's like more than twice the most expensive agave liquor I've ever bought. I'm like, some of the best mezcals are like $120 a bottle, 140 maybe, but 250 is ridiculous. And so I thought, no way. And then I was walking across the street and it came to me, I thought, if I don't buy at least one bottle of this stuff, who am I? So that's what I did. I bought one bottle. Most people thought I bought two. I should have bought 20, I agree, because I saw them selling on eBay empty bottles, maybe because you can't sell liquor on eBay.
Yeah, there's no currently full bottles for sale on eBay, and the highest price bottle is, couple $1,000s. I'm gonna look and see what the like sold and gotten rid of versions, what those prices have been selling for, because you can.
I saw like 600 to like 1,000, and that was a few days ago. But I heard that the Tesla Divas, somebody was offering a full bottle for like $40,000.
What?
I bought two bottles. And I bought two bottles because I'm like, one for the studio for the LA crew and one for Joel.
Oh,
and
that's a good idea.
And then I saw how much they were selling for, and I thought, one for the studio and one for eBay. And I can pay for both of them. So
you
theoretically, I have two. But it does raise a question about what's going to happen, because if you truly can get $1,000 for a bottle of those, come on.
Here's what I will tell you, Mel. Let's sell both. You should sell both of them. Buy one really good bottle of tequila based on one of Robert's recommendations, and maybe even a bottle of mezcal, and we'll just wonder forever how crappy Tesla tequila actually was. Who cares? I would not crack open bottle one of those things if I was you. Those things would be a goodbye.
But how cool would it be to have it in the studio? To have that
the glass.
We got it. We got to have it in the studio.
It'd be cool. All right, so sell one. Sell one. If you could sell one.
Sorry, Joel. You lose.
Yeah. If you could sell one for $40,000, I mean, that's like
I could buy a car.
You could buy a Cybertruck.
I could send a Model 3 to Joel instead of a tequila bottle.
That's a fair trade.
Yeah, I
I've
think
been
for
on
the
this show
price
for years. What are you talking about?
if you
I'm
could
gonna take
sell
you guys
one-
to 200, to Talking Tesla 200.
if I could, if we could sell one of those bottles for $1,000, which I'm sure at this point we could, that would buy like a dozen amazing bottles of tequila or mezcal that we could.
It's not, I
really
guess what we're
record for a
failing to
long
understand
time
here, it is not about the tequila.
Right.
And that's so much of life, right? It is not about the thing itself. It's about the experience. It's about what it means to you. It's about the dopaminergic surge you get from it. And Elon understands that very well. There is no way that the fluid in that bottle is worth $200, $250. Not at all. But it's linked with Elon. It's linked with this thing. So you can charge an enormous amount. And the question is, what's it worth to our studio here to have a bottle of that? It's worth $250.
Yeah. And what I will say is
Agreed.
we could drink the tequila in both bottles and still sell both bottles for $1,000.
I think you want the
But
bottle though.
we want the bottle, not the tequila.
We could drink the tequila, fill it with urine, resell it, still make out.
That's gross, but
What if it's the urine after you drank
could
it?
buy one of their other bottles of tequila instead and put it in there.
Joel, have you seen the bottle? It's amazing.
Yeah. You want the bottle.
You got to keep one bottle and you got to
Yeah.
sell one bottle for $40,000. But it will. How about this? We could do what we've done to all the other things we've gotten from Tesla. We can sign them and totally ruin their resale value.
I've got a Tesla wall charger from a young man named Robert, and it's the signed Elon edition. This is an example of things that are worth way more than just the dollar value. I get this feeling of just like joy when I see this black Tesla charger signed by Elon and I plug it into my car every time now. Like, that is pretty effing cool. So again, this bottle is not worth $250, but having one on our bar is going to be, every person that walks into the studio is going to like, damn. And so maybe we sell the second one, or maybe we just keep the second one because once the pandemic's over, we're going to force Joel to drive across country and come and do Talking Tesla in person. And we're going to drink the second one as a group. That would be awesome. That's something we'll remember forever.
The only thing that will be cooler than one one Tesla tequila bottle on your shelf will be two, right? Like on either side, right? Like sort of like bookends. Put something cool in between the two of them. Yeah, I like the idea of keeping both of them now because let's be honest, you don't need the money. So like whatever. Like that ship has basically sailed. And you're right. We will get way more joy on this show and in the studio if we can ever be within 6 feet of one another ever again. To sit down and then we can talk major shit about how bad that tequila is, which will be super fun.
That would be so cool. Like, this is piss. We paid $500 for 2 bottles of piss.
This stuff tastes like crap. That's horrible.
Well, interestingly, they're doing something, the Nosotros brand, that is very, very non-traditional, right? In Mexico is an extremely traditional country when it comes to sort of like the historical foods. I'm not saying people don't experiment. I'm just saying that there's a great deal of respect for tradition. And in Jalisco, if you like grow your tequila or your agave plants on a certain like mountainside and make tequila out of it, you're known for that. But what these guys are doing is going against the grain, and they're taking tequila plants, the agave, from the high up in the hills and the ones from low down below the hills, and they're blending their tequilas, which is almost unheard of in quality tequilas. And there is a brand that I can wholeheartedly recommend called Fonteseca, which they make maybe one of the best Blanco tequilas I've ever had. And it's also a blended tequila, which again, very unusual. So they may be onto something, and it's possible their agave tastes really good. So I'm looking forward to when we do a show. We're gonna have to you're gonna have to, Mel, just pour off a little. I'll give you a glass bottle or something. Overnight it to Joel so we can all taste within a short period of time and do a little tasting.
Well, my biggest problem actually, I literally was like, we'll have one, Joel have one, it'll be fun. We'll do a whole drinking thing. But then I'm like, isn't there laws about transporting alcohol across state lines and the Gumball Rally and all that stuff? Like, can you just do that? Can I just send it to somebody, or do the
It's
feds
only a
come and get
problem
me?
if you.
They
It's only
say
a
you
problem if
can
you
do
get
it.
on YouTube and tell like everybody
Yes.
on the internet that you're going to do
Okay,
it.
so now I can't do it.
That was my joke. Yeah, that's exactly right. If as long as you don't have a podcast about it and tell people about it, then I think you're fine.
I think, Joel, you're not getting it.
So yeah, there are certain states you cannot mail alcohol in and out of for sure. I have
It's one of
mailed
those
alcohol out
Massachusetts.
of one of those states for sure. I won't say which state, and I won't say what alcohol, but it was
You bad
delicious
boy.
and well worth it. And actually, I'll tell you this: Mel and I drank it together at one point.
Illegal
don't
contraband.
Conspirators.
So I don't want to. I won't tell anymore. But it was delicious.
Is there going to be a Supercharger update, or are we done?
Let's be done.
I don't really have a Supercharger update for today. All I can say is fireball, fireball, fireball.
Firebar 56, but guess what? It's about to get overtaken because they're building a 65 stall Supercharger in China, but it's only going to be 120 kilowatts, which is weird.
Oh wow!
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
How
I'm
far is
expecting-
Fireball from you guys?
About
Where
3
is that
hours.
exactly?
It's sort of right between LA and San Francisco. That was the idea, is like put it right between the two and be able to like whip people in and out. It's on the 5 freeway or just off the 5 freeway, which is one of the main freeways between the two. So, and I think it's not clear from Teslarati and the other people that were explaining it that they made it sound like there was a restaurant and bathroom sort of complex and all that stuff, but they didn't make it clear whether it was owned by Tesla or that it was just sort of nearby. So it feels like, or it sounded like it was going to be this complex where Tesla had a restaurant and a rest area and stuff like they have at Kettleman, although Kettleman doesn't have a restaurant. So does anybody have any clarity on that? Is the restaurant owned by Tesla or is it just nearby?
Can we call it a Tesla-ront? I think it would be better if we called it a Tesla-ront. But I don't have any idea if Tesla owned one or if they don't own one. I think Tesla, if they're smart, they could bring back the whole automat, which is sort of like a robotic way to get food. Like you just put in your Tesla, maybe even your Model 3 card or your key fob right up against it. And that's how they sort of charge you for a sandwich that you pull out of the little automat slot or something fun and cool like that.
You could order it on the
Well,
MCU
actually,
as
Tom-
you drive in.
Yeah. But Tom, you said something earlier I wanted to get back to, which was nobody's been talking about the Snaky. Actually, Elon has been, and a couple of people have been emailing about the Snaky. The Snaky isn't going away. I think maybe we're going to start to see some more sort of iterations on the Snaky as this Robo taxi thing has got to have autonomous Snaky. So Snaky not dead.
That would have been
Snaky
cool.
coming back soon.
That would have been cool, like at the beginning of the pandemic, if you could just pull up to a charger, not have to get out of your car, not have to touch the charger cable, and they would just like plug it in, plug it out, pull it out. Like that'd be pretty baller.
I think it's
Well, I think that what they've worked on and what I would expect to see is on the typical Supercharger with the U-shaped cutout. I'm expecting to see an insert that they place there that will automatically come out of the U and just find its way right to your charging port. And I think they probably have already designed that. And it's probably something like a 6-minute retrofit.
It'd have to have some kind
like
of camera. It'd have to have
happen.
some kind of camera and AI on it, right? Because I'm assuming there's not some sort of location sensor built into the current charge ports that are on our vehicle. So it would actually have to see it, be able to open the port and dock with it, correct?
That or
Yeah.
LiDAR.
If they solve FSD, that's kind of easy at that point.
Yeah, that's right.
If they charge.
If they can
and
do Neuralink and attach to your, axons in your brain, sticking a thing into your car, that's no problem. All right, let's end this thing. We've been going a while. It's been good. The show is Talking Tesla. It's a series of shows. It's a network of shows. Joel has been threatening. I dare say, threatening to do a daily show again. He's been threatening to do it. So we'll see what happens with that, whether those threats are real. But I'm up for helping him if he wants to do it. I'm just saying, I'm up for helping if those threats are real. Are they real, Joel?
We'll have to see.
Oh, look at that. Teaser. Okay. Anything else, gentlemen? It's been great. It's been fun. It's been cool. It's been huge. Our humanoid colleagues are now flying past us at approximately 26,000 kilometers an hour as they head towards the space station. And as soon as they get there, they're going to be like, oh my God, I have got to take a whiz. Could you open up the hatch?
Or it smells in here. Can you please open up the hatch?
Oh man, I'm
Then
glad
it just
I'm not.
goes into
I'm
the
not.
rest of the station.
I'm glad I'm not in that dragon with you, Herbert. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh my gosh, it would be absolutely filthy. And let's just summarize the stupidest thing we heard on this podcast was somebody, I don't want to name him, Joel, that said he would be watching all of the Alien movies on the way to the spaceship.
Terrible
It
idea.
just seems like a terrible, terrible idea.
Terrible idea. Just the worst possible scenario in this situation. All right. Well, we'll see you guys back here in about 26 hours for the docking. And
No, not gonna happen.
It's going to be great. All right. Have a nice evening, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to our lunacy. We're sorry that Joel couldn't find enough content to even fill 2 hours on his little screen behind him. It's all boring, black, reflective crapola. Nice try, Joel. Nice try.
Yep. Next time.
See you later.
Next time on the show.
Bye,
Sigourney
guys.
Weaver. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Have you stopped the streaming yet, Herbert? Stop the streaming. Stopping the recording.
And I'm gonna stop the stream.